everybody, Boone Wyatt with the 323 Concept Furniture Restoration here. Today I'm going to be showing you how we go about replacing a Pressboard antique chair seat. What is that, you may ask? You may not know it by that name, but let me show it to you. This is the seat that is on our antique chair, and just let me show you the chair too. This is our chair. Little close-up look. It's just got a hole right here in the middle. We'll need to build a support system. So whoever did it last time, I don't know if this is the original, it may be, but they used a sheet of tin, as you see here, and it was just nailed into place onto the frame, and then the Pressboard seat went right over the top. So after doing a little bit of research, they have Pressboard, which is this material. And as you can tell, it's pretty brittle, especially with age. It gets real brittle. You might see it start peeling. They do offer genuine leather, price difference. After doing a little research, these run about $30, $40 each. And then the genuine leather, if you wanted to go that route, those run probably about $130. And that's just the materials. Then you have to worry about labor to install them as well. But if you're doing it yourself, that'll give you an idea of what you're looking to spend. But to install it, you would need to, well, we'll get to that in the video. But this is what we're dealing with today. How do we go about replacing one of these Pressboard seats? So without further ado, let's jump right into the video and show you how we go about it. Okay, so I've ordered these Pressboard seats from Van Dyke's Restoration Hardware. They make really good products, but this is a Pressboard seat. The customer opted to go that route. As you see, we got real similar on style, where it's got this crosshatch pattern, real nice decorative, but they come unfinished. Like I said, they were about $30, $40 each, but they come in just a square like this, so you can cut it to size when you get it in. This one is about 14.5-inch square. I believe they did have a couple different size options, so if you get a little bit of a larger seat or much smaller, I think there's a couple different options there to work with. So what we did, this is the other seat. We're doing two of these. Basically what I've done, I've just laid this over the top, transferred my marking onto here with a pencil, and I went through and I used just some shears that I had on hand. These are metal shears. They actually worked really well for this purpose, but you can find these at the hardware store. I'll also post a link in the description where you can find these. But I went through and cut it out, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll show how I do it on this one that I haven't cut yet. But I tested it out, works great, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I went about it. But transfer your mark and go into cutting. So I'm being very careful to stay on my pencil line and to get as smooth as a cut as possible. Because anything that's not smooth, you're gonna have to file down in the end. Now, I'm not a professional leather worker. I'm sure there is a specific tool to file it down at the end. I just used my orbital sander very carefully, tested it on a scrap piece first, and it seemed to work fine to smooth out my edges. But the better you can cut it, the less sanding and less filing you're gonna have to do at the end. Now, if you want something a little more geared towards leather filing, I would recommend checking with a leather supply store. I'm here in Texas, so like I would go to Tandy Leather and check with them and see what they recommend, because they cater to that kind of work. So, all right. After we finish cutting these out, smoothing out our edges, the next step is going to be to dye the material. Like I said, it comes in unfinished. So I ordered some leather dye, and as soon as I finish cutting these out, I'm going to go into dyeing the leather, or Pressboard in this case. go. All right, everybody, so I've got the tops cut out. I've got the edges all sanded smooth. Like I said, if you've got any specific tools, you might check with a leather supply store, see what they recommend for that. I'm just sort of going with what works in my shop, and I'll be the first to admit that's probably not the ideal tool to use as an orbital sander to smooth out the edges, but it worked. So that's what I used. I got my chairs all cleaned up and polished, and I'm ready to put in a support system to go underneath my press board. Now, you could probably use a number of different things, and if you ever work with antiques, you'll notice they sort of use a lot of different materials that they might find just laying around their shop. So in my case, what I'm going to use is this elastic webbing. I use this on a lot of upholstery projects, but it works really good. And without further ado, let's jump into this step and let's get the support system put in. But basically, I cut enough strips to do 3 wide, 3 from front to back, and 3 from side to side. So this is my webbing stretcher, as you see, and I'll put a link in the description if you need one of these. If you decide to go with burlap webbing or this elastic webbing, this is a great tool to have, and it works great for this. But basically, I just put my webbing on the spikes and just pull extremely tight and staple it in place, and that'll give you a really good tight tension. And that's basically what we're going for. As you notice, when I did the front to back first, and when I did the side to side, I wove them under, over, and then I alternated on the next one, and then went back to the original. So, and that just gives it a little extra strength in the end. So, as you see, that part of the process is pretty simple, very easy. And if you're looking for webbing, I'll put a link to 2 different types. This is the elastic, as I stated. It is a lot more expensive than the burlap, so you might just go burlap. I showed both options to my customer, and they decided to go this route since I already had it. But the burlap, like I said, is a lot cheaper, and it's probably a little easier to find. But I'll put a couple links to where you can find those products. All right, that concludes our video for today. Thank y'all so much for watching. As you saw, it was a pretty simple process overall. I didn't do much talking on the last 2 steps, but basically, as you saw, I centered the seat that I had cut out on the seats that on the chair itself. And then I went through and just sort of marked where I wanted the tacks. I wanted to make sure they were evenly spaced. I did a 2-inch spacing on mine. You can do, whatever you want. You definitely want to have enough tacks to where your seat's secure and not moving around and is stable. So, but a good rule of thumb, I think, is maybe start in the centers, the front and back center, and then the side-to-side center, and then sort of work out from there. But use something you can wipe off the seat after you're done. I was using a little chalk pencil and mark those in there, see if it lays out good, and then you can go through with hammering in your decorative tacks. So that being said, that was really my last step. As you saw, the chairs turned out absolutely beautiful. It was a fun process. That was my first time doing a pressboard seat, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that. I thought it was fun. It's a good alternative, I think, if maybe you have a cane chair and you just can't afford to recane it, or if it's just a little bit too tedious for you. A pressboard seat's a pretty good, simple alternative to that. So it's a little bit, I would say, on a skill level, this is more of a beginner skill level as opposed to the caning that could be more intermediate. Anyways, hope this video helps you if you end up replacing a pressboard seat. If you've got any questions, let us know in the comment section. We will respond to anybody and everybody, as long as you're respectful, and that's what we're here for, is to converse and help each other grow. That's what YouTube's all about. So just thank y'all for tuning in. If you want to see future videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and you'll get updates to our future videos, and we're hoping to put those out weekly. So we hope to see y'all in the future. Thanks, y'all.